So Bridger, you overcome a lot of adversity before even stepping on the pitch as a professional rugby player. So please talk to us about it, because I think a lot of our listeners will be very intrigued and want to know what has happened in your early years of growing up.
So I was born with a condition called congenital melanocytic nevus. I believe that's how you say it. So
we
I'm
believe
going
you.
with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as CMN syndrome. And basically it's a mutation of the gene that happens inside the womb. It's a skin condition, I think you could say, a variation of a birthmark. So a lot of people think it's a birthmark. And I was born with this on my face and a little bit into my head, so my scalp. And then I have lesions kind of all around my body, I think in like 7 different places, and then pigmentation on my back as well. Just means that also when I was born, there wasn't really a lot of research on it. Didn't really know a lot about it. So kind of went up to Frenchy in Bristol. That was my closest to get kind of diagnosed and the treatment started. Now there's loads more research on it. They do it kind of Great Ormond Street are kind of leading that charge. Wow. But yeah, so now when babies are born with it, they get MRIs and CT scans and all that. And it can actually have sometimes an effect on your neurological system and spine and everything. I think I didn't have any effects from it other than appearance. I haven't had any kind of effects within my body. But yeah, so I've had 13 operations. So that's my first one at 6 weeks old. My poor mum and dad taking me to hospital when I was 6 weeks old must have been crazy. And then my last one when I was 15. So I had them kind of every age up to 12 and then a break and then one more in year 10. But yeah, so kind of crazy, obviously having that growing up through my whole childhood. Obviously now it's kind of a skin colour, but before it was just one big birthmark onto my forehead and then out onto my cheek. And my eyebrow was really big as well and quite like hairy. And then this side of my hair is darker and a lot more like straw-like hair, I guess you could say. So I have 2 textures of hair. So growing up, just found that obviously it's really difficult. I grew up in a small town, which helps because you go to school and everyone kind of knows, or it's just really lovely. And I've been surrounded by friends my whole life that will back me up before I even have to say anything. Yeah. And having 3 older brothers kind of makes you tough anyway. But also knowing that they're going to
beat someone up.
They're going to beat someone up if they need to. But yeah, I just got into rugby when I was like 6 with it. But yeah, there's like times that I wasn't playing rugby, obviously, because I couldn't. Times that I did play rugby when I probably shouldn't and wore a scrum hat. But my surgeon was really cool as well. He loved rugby, and I used to sit there as a little kid in the hospital, speak to him about rugby and not listen to a single thing. And my poor parents had to like deal with it. But yeah, it was really tough, like still to this day. More in the summer because I think I tan a little bit more. So it was meant to be skin colour. So when I was 8, I had a skin graft, and that was probably my biggest operation.
I was going to say, what were the like kind of steps?
Sorry.
No.
So I kind of have... So I had a lot of laser to start with to make it lighter. And then and then cut and suture, which they kind of cut and then they pull my face back. So actually my face is a little bit wonky. You can't tell as much anymore because it's been years.
Don't worry about it. Oh my
God, thanks, babe. But at times, like I literally like my face has been like right pulled back.
Wow.
But yeah, so when I was 8, I had my skin graft, which if no one knows what skin graft is, you take skin from my stomach. That was the area that they took it from, and they put it on my face. So even now, I'll get a stitch in my stomach when I'm running around, and it's like 10 times worse than a stitch. But there's nothing really I can do about it. I either have to...
Oh, wow.
Like, I can't sit out for 5 minutes because that's going to last forever. Yeah, I just have to like run through it. It's really horrible. But yeah, so then I had that when I was 8 years old. I had like a whole net on my head. I had that on for like 6 weeks. I went to school with this like net on my head. It was crazy. But my skin didn't take to it. So obviously I was quite young. There was no research. Yeah. I was kind of one of the first people to have this skin graft.
A bit like a guinea pig.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it like, didn't you say it's like 1 in something?
1 in 20,000 people are born with this condition.
Okay.
which is crazy. So,
Yeah.
you know, 1 in
1 in
20,000. What can I say?
Yeah.
What can I say? So my skin didn't take to it. So it was meant to look the same colour as the rest of my forehead.
Right.
But obviously it doesn't. But also something I've grown up with. I don't really care anymore. But it's like when I tan a little bit more, it's a bit more obvious. And like some people do, like random adults will just be like, what happened to your face?
Good manners, that. That's
yeah,
good
it's really,
manners.
really lovely, isn't it? But I just kind of like, I either just say it's a birthmark or go along with whatever they say. But unless it's like someone that I actually want to speak to about it. Like I remember when I think I first met you and you asked me and you were like, do you want to talk about it? And I was like, I actually don't care talking about it. I think it's really important to talk about, especially because it's a condition. People might not have that exact condition, but people might have something similar.
Agreed.
So I think it's really important to talk about. And it's never been something I've let affect me or bother me or my personality, but like it sometimes does deep down.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess everyone has something maybe that they feel like that. But the first thought will come to my head if someone's staring at me is that. But it's, you know, you get on with it. It's life. But yeah, it's made me me.
What do they do now to people that are born? Like, what's different? Because obviously, there's probably been 24 years. This is probably going to show how bad I am as a friend. I don't know how old you are, but
24. You know, you're right.
24 years of research.
Yeah.
So, like, what do they do now if a baby is born with it?
They'll MRI and CT.
Yeah.
Like straight away, just to check that everything's all okay. And then everyone's different. So there's a whole campaign about it. It's like, how do you see me now? But everyone's different. So some people have it really like all over their body. I obviously just have it here and then a couple of places around my body. But yeah, they treat it the same. Sometimes they can operate, but some people have it really big on their body, and there's obviously you can't skin graft everything. But the goal is just to reduce it and laser and pigmentation, because it can be really dangerous in the sun as well.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Go on, you little host.
Yeah,
Here
sorry.
she is.
I don't know. I just wanted to
Here
get
she
it in my
is.
brain, so I
Go
wanted
on.
to ask. You know, you said that it can affect, do you say you're like your back or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say you're like a lucky?
Yeah, I don't want to use the word lucky because it feels wrong, but yeah, for sure, I guess. Yeah, I would say like I got away lightly.
Like, could it have been like worse? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse. But like it affects my appearance. So I have a small nose and small ears. It's because of CMN. And like my eczema is actually because of CMN. So yeah, appearance kind of affects it as well. And then I have to be really careful in the sun, which guilty, I'm not. Sorry, mother. But, you know.
No, I think it's fascinating, and you're really brave to talk about it, because I think, like, you know, and we joke, like, I have dyslexia, but I'm not comfortable talking about how dyslexic I am. Do you know what I mean? And that's something that people can't see when they first meet me. And I just think it's how far you've come, and, you know, your parents and your brothers must be super proud of you as well, because I don't know, so, but I wouldn't be able to be as confident, as brave, as outgoing as you are. And I just think, it's credit.
I mean, thank you. It's a credit to my friends as well, because like they give me the confidence to do it. And like sometimes I'll sit down and actually have real conversations with my friends, and in all seriousness, and they say they don't really notice it anymore. But it's definitely something, like, especially kind of, you know, when you go through you're growing up and you go into kind of the dating life, and you're like you're in secondary school, and it comes into your mind, of course it does, and sometimes that even comes in now. But I think the right people are your people, you know. And yeah, like I'll always have my friend's first defense when needed. I think there was like 500 comments on an Instagram post once when someone tried to like troll me for my eyebrow, because it was quite big. It was bigger back then. And I was actually out kicking a rugby ball, and I come back, but like I've been defended before I've even said anything, and it was incredible.
It's a great story for a date, though. Yeah, if the conversation goes dry. By the way,
wow, you got great chat.